All right, we are
Yeah, buddy.
with Taylor Handley, my man. I've known Taylor for 20 some odd years now.
I'd say so.
Pretty incredible to watch everything that you've done. I mean, there's not a lot of actors who go from doing Disney like you and I did to being able to actually evolve as an actor and have a career in our 30s and 40s. Most people kind of die off or are forced to move on, and this is not an easy industry, and I've been lucky enough to watch you just kind of succeed constantly, man. I love you so much.
Love you too, man. And thanks so much for putting this together and this chat. I think it's so important, and for saying all those kind things too, man. I mean, the feeling is mutual. You said it right. It was like Disney kids, and now like look where we're at, man. And the evolution hasn't been easy. We've talked through the years. There's a lot of ups and downs, and it's kind of perfect that we're talking about mental health because that's something that you need to be on your game with in this, especially in this industry. Just across all industries, I assume. But since this is our industry and we're talking about it, let's
For
we,
sure.
we can dive into that.
No doubt about
Yeah.
that. We go through the ups and downs like everybody else, and
hmm
you've been um, you met. How long ago did you meet your wife, Audra?
Oh gosh, I mean, we've known each other, been with each other almost 16, 17 years. Yeah.
That's incredible. It's incredible
Yeah.
that I only met my wife, Katie, 3 years ago. Um, and man, when you meet the right person and you have somebody that knows you, I mean, do you find that helps? Do you find that takes any of the does it help to have a partner that you love and trust that can help bear some of your load, and that you can talk to and be honest with?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for my wife. And um, that whole thing, that relationship, that took a lot of work, like that took a lot of work, especially in the early days. And we kind of grew up together, which was amazing. And we're so blessed to be so connected the way we are today, having gone through ups and downs. And um, I'm happy to say we're just stronger than ever and just more in love than ever. And it's definitely, family specifically is the priority in my life above
No
all
doubt.
else. Well, higher power, God, having that, you got to be right. You got to be right there,
I
and
know
then
what you mean.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean, and then family.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
So like mental health, we're talking about mental health. Um, you know, for me, I grew up in an environment where, like, when I was in my teens, I was like, mom, dad, like maybe I should talk to a therapist, like, and
mm.
I grew up in a household where it was like, why? There's nothing wrong with you.
Oh,
There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with you. Why would you want to talk to a therapist? And so, like, I would always kind of like, kind of hide, sink back into the shadows and go, oh yeah, you're right. No, there's nothing wrong. So I grew up in an environment where kind of, I think there was therapy. There was this stigma about fear in the generation of the household that I kind of grew up in. What was it like for you growing up? We're just getting into kind of like generational gaps, and I think you mentioned it earlier. Like the world in which things used to work.
Yeah, the way that things used to be, like, the 40s, 50s, that mentality bleeding into, the next generation, into this generation. I just don't think that they match up anymore. The world is a, completely different place than it was then. And even before then, where these social stigmas, originated. This, if you're a man and you have issues, you shouldn't, talk about it. You should kind of just, like what you said about growing up in the
Yeah.
household, it's like if you have an issue, why do you need to go talk to a therapy? Be a man, deal with it. And I just don't think that. Well, we know now that it's not healthy to just sit back and stuff all those pressures deep down, because I think I think and I mean, there's all this data that you know uh, proves this, that the more that you are overwhelmed or you're feeling pressure, and all that stuff is kind of you suppress that, it starts to bubble, and then it starts presenting itself in really destructive ways, or it can, like through substance abuse, alcohol abuse, or types of bad behavior. And so, because there's this, there's these underlying issues that people are going through without any way to get it out, or being kind of bound by these social stigmas, and it's just causing for all this, it's causing for all this, chaos with mental health. And you see it in the streets of LA. I mean, there's just like there's like people are not getting the help that they need. I don't know if it's that they don't know where to start or what, but I mean, through the streets, through the households, I mean, it is a subject that still to this day is really brushed under the rug. And that's why I'm so glad that you are you know bringing this about, because it's like, yeah, we need to have this talk. Like, it's time to take those issues, air it out in an environment that you feel comfortable with, heal whatever that is, and then move on to be happy, joyous, and free. As a human being, you are entitled to be happy, joyous, and free, and don't
Yes.
let social stigmas of the past hinder you from that. And so I'm more than happy to talk about this subject. As you can see, I'm
Thank you.
very passionate about
Yeah, no,
it.
no, no kidding. And as I think everybody should be passionate about it. I mean, you have two kids.
I have a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got your daughter, and it's. I think I wish I had. I wish. I think we're lucky to be able to live in a world with the accessibility of information, with the internet and everything else. I mean, I remember
Definitely.
having to go to the library and check out an encyclopedia to figure out what a leopard frog is. And
You're right.
now all we got to do is pick up our smartphones and just punch something in, and we just have this plethora of information. So I do think things are changing, and we're lucky to live in the world as it is nowadays, with stigmas and things being lifted as well, and the fact that I think that you know being a vulnerable human being is much more courageous than being somebody who pretends to be all hard on the outside. Um,
Yes.
that I think that goes a lot further in society nowadays, and certainly goes a lot further in my books. Um, why? What do you think is? What do you do? Let's start with that. What do you do on a regular basis to keep your head clear?
Well, first, I'd like to say, I think you're so right that the new courage, like the new being courageous, is stepping up and being vulnerable, and speaking about the things that are going on in your life, whether it's a loved one, or a therapist, or somebody you can trust. I think that that is the way forward. Again, I believe that no person should be bound by these issues that they aren't able to air out, and sink into what we're seeing in humanity overall, but specifically for this conversation, men, the depression, the anxiety, and everything that kind of you know goes down the line, the fear, financial insecurities, you know I mean, the list goes on and on. For me, it's a great question. Like, what I do, there was a point, especially working in this industry, where I would attach my self worth to whether or not I was working as an actor. And that did a lot of damage. Constantly going out for auditions and being rejected and not being able to process that as, hey, it's just business, but I would process it as, well, I would take it personally, I would, and um, so there was a lot.
It's hard not to take it personally, isn't it? I
Yeah, because
mean,
you put yourself into it. You put your whole self into it.
yeah, and you work, tirelessly over learning the dialogue, and creating
Mm,
this character, and I don't think people understand how much of how emotionally attached you get to creating something. It's like, if you were to take an audition and equate it to creating a piece of art, a painting or a book or a poem, something that would take hours and hours of work to put into, and then you hand it out to everybody and you get judged.
yeah.
And in an audition scenario, it's a yes or a no. Most of the time there's never like a, well, it was pretty good, I really like this take on it because it was cool. It's not going to work for us, but like I appreciate the artistic approach to it. It's flat. It's no.
Right. Yeah, they don't have time to explain it to you, and this is a business after all, and you can't expect them to handle you with kid gloves, even though we are, you know,
Artists.
emotional artists, very
Yeah.
emotional artists, like to like to be able to tap in to, the characters that we play, we have to have on hand, truthful, authentic threads to our emotions, right? So they're always kind of up and bubbling. And I know how you work, dude. I know how authentic and true you are to everything that you bring. And so, we can't stuff that. We have to have them right there. So we're constantly, bobbing and
Yeah.
weaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but what I was saying was that attaching self-worth to those
Yeah,
outcomes
exactly.
was really dangerous, and I did it for a long time up until around, gosh, 2018 or 2019, where I realized that that was going to be just like the death of my mental health. Like I had to make a change. Luckily, there were seeds that were planted throughout my life where I knew what books to turn to.
Mhm.
A couple of books that I really love, especially to find purpose. There's a great book. It's like self expansion 101 is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Uh, but a book that really helped me, and this is what I want to get to about the solution to men's health. Is these lifestyle changes that you can make. If you don't like the way things are going in your life, you have, like you said, uh, a huge opportunity of information at your fingertips with the information. I'm going to give what I did. Think and Grow Rich, a great book called A Miracle Morning,
Mhm.
um, a book by Rhonda Byrne called The Magic, uh, you know, uh, gosh, Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley. These are all like the first books that I read to kind of start digging myself out of this hole of depression, anxiety, self-esteem issues, everything that had kind of like built up throughout the years that I hadn't really aired out. Um, and so that was where I started. I knew things weren't going the right way. And so I made a conscious effort, a conscious, commitment to myself to like, okay. And then I was so open to, knowing that I wanted to feel differently, um, that I didn't care how stupid things sounded. I took suggestions, you know,
Sure.
I don't care how like, oh, woo woo zaza, self-help books are or anything like that. Like I didn't like the way I was feeling. I needed to make a change. I was willing to do what it took to change, you know.
Hmm.
And so there needs to be a certain amount of willingness, a person who is suffering with, depression, anxiety, whatever mental health issue they're going to. Now, if you're talking about more clinical things as like schizophrenia or bipolar or any of that stuff, obviously you need to consult with a psychotherapist or a psychologist, and medication may be the route. But if there's something not going on down there and you don't know where to turn to, the Movember Foundation is a great place to start, right? Um, another again, since I'm so into solution, betterhelp.com. Go find a therapist online. There's so many outlets. Again, going back to what you said.
You make it sound simple in a way that I appreciate,
Thank you.
because when you can simplify certain things like that, and obviously everybody comes from a different mental perspective on certain things, right? But the simple fact is you can diagnose that there's an issue. You're unhappy, you're depressed, whatever it might be. But the basis of that, I think, would be you are unhappy. You don't want to be unhappy. And we can find a solution. That takes a lot of courage. It takes courage. It takes that bravery that we spoke about to be able to admit that you're not okay. And I think one of the reasons I want to do this thing is because it's okay not to be okay.
Totally. It's
Uh,
okay not to be okay. Well said.
like I'm not okay not most of the time. Like I'm okay. I'm not okay 50% of the time. I'm juggling a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, a lot of pressures life throws at you.
Yeah. I can't imagine how everybody else feels. Probably a lot like me, where you're constantly trying to like keep the strings attached and put the blocks in the right place, constantly trying to do it right. And it's impossible to do things right all the time, isn't it?
You know, mental health has had it's just like mental health issues, and not taking care of the mental health issues has destroyed loved ones. Specifically to me,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a loved one uh couldn't get over their issues, had a substance abuse problem, used the substance, used the alcohol as the solution, and winded up overdosing and dying, right? I've had a loved one who, again, similarly used substance and, drugs and alcohol to try to fix what was going on with them. And it became too much. And so they killed themselves,
Yeah.
right? These are all people very close to me. And it's like if you don't at least try to do one of these things, I mean, there's like, life is priceless. You know, that's what these experiences that I've gone through with losing loved ones has just taught me. Like, life is priceless, and you owe it to yourself to say fuck the stigmas. I'm sorry, but like, we have to say fuck the stigmas, please. Like, go talk to somebody. I mean, I've already given the solutions. Better Health, start at Movember Foundation, the Movember website.
The books
Therapy.
you mentioned, which we're gonna list the books that you mentioned
Great,
on your
please.
page on Movember, so that when people go to your page, they can have those books listed. We're gonna make sure that those go up for that.
It's just there's no reason that you shouldn't have a happy, joyous, and free life. Like, there are so many. I mean, there are. It just takes a willingness, and sometimes that's the hardest step, right? I guess it. You said, what I was saying. It sounded so simple, but sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. It's hard to diagnose yourself and go, oh, hey, I need a change, when you're so used to the world being a specific way or having a perspective on the world. Like, it's hard to get a moment of clarity,
Yeah.
but I think having conversations like this, where you and I are being open about this, can help people go, oh, I
Yeah.
relate to that. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, these guys are talking about that. maybe this could be a moment of clarity for somebody where they go, oh yeah, I relate to, X, Y, and Z of what he said, and maybe I will check out that website or da da da. So
Yeah,
again, thanks for putting this conversation together, because life is priceless and there's no reason that you should go through it, bearing these burdens that people are bearing.
no doubt. I will say, like, I'm lucky enough to be working. Um, there was a 3 years. Um, there's been lots of periods of time throughout my career where I've wondered what the hell I've been doing. Um,
Same Z's right
like,
here.
dude, should I have gone back to school? What the fuck am I thinking?
Dude, you were building tables.
I
I was
really
trying to I was trying to sell, PPE masks, and
right.
during the pandemic, like,
You know,
yeah, we're bobbing and weaving trying to hustle.
no kidding, man. So, like, there's no doubt in my mind that, like, we all feel at times like we need somebody to talk to. And, you know, I I stopped drinking 4 years ago. And that narrowed down my group of friends a lot. For in a very good way, in a very healthy way. And I was lucky enough to meet my wife. And, I have a little girl. I've gained a lot of perspective, and, throughout the ups and downs, I stayed busy. Like, part of the reason I built tables and started that company wasn't necessarily just because I wanted to find a way to make money. I needed to find a way to keep my mind busy because I wasn't healthy, because I didn't have a purpose, like you said,
Purpose.
outside of acting. And I had equated so much of my self-worth, as you said, which I think you said so well, to the industry. And after about a year making tables, people would ask me what I do, because in LA, it's like the first question that comes out of everybody's mouth is, what do you do for a living? And I just say, I'm a carpenter. I'd take myself out of the equation immediately. And it felt really good not to
I
be
bet.
defined as like this one thing, because we're not one thing. We're incredible human beings, are these like incredibly amazing, complex um, creatures, but along with how incredible we are, we also incredibly complex. And so, and I get kind of like rambled on there for a minute, but
No,
you
I think what oh, sorry, go ahead.
know, and I'm saying this to you because we've known each other for so long, and you've been there through the ups and downs, and you've been there when I used to, go out and drink and party, and you've been inspiring. You've had a family, and you met your wife almost 20 years ago. Like, dude, you're a guy. You're the guy. You're the
Oh,
you're
that's sweet of
awesome.
you to say.
You're
Hey,
awesome.
bro. Dude, love
Uh,
you, bro. Thanks, man. Thanks for
you
saying that.
are. I mean that. Like,
Well, the feeling's mutual,
I'm
man.
I'm proud of you. Like, you were. When I moved to LA, I didn't know anybody. You and I had shot a movie together, and you were cool as hell to me. And you were like this guy, and I was just this kid from Toronto who was moving to a strange city, and I didn't know anybody. And you didn't have to, but you went out of your way to make me feel like safe. If I want to break it down emotionally as just a human being at 20 years old, you made me feel like I had a brother here. You made me feel like I wasn't alone. Um, you made me feel like um, I had family. You invited me up to Santa Barbara to meet your people, and even years later when I actually moved here and I was struggling through pilot season, you gave me a couch to crash on and a room to stay in. And man, you were just you were a really big part of my life growing up here, and I appreciate that. And
Oh, right on.
you know, you've been inspiring throughout all of it. But even weeks ago, I turned to Katie and I went like, I'm doing everything right now, and I still feel alone sometimes,
Mm.
and I still don't know who to talk to sometimes, because I still feel that there's this kind of like stigma that just is there. And I think that's innate in me to be like, well, I'm working and I've got a family and I don't have an alcohol abuse issue anymore. So I've got all the good things going for me, but I'm still tired and I'm still run down. I'm still not sure if it's good enough. And
Mm.
so part of me wonders if no matter where you are in life, whether you are just trying to get by or if you are building companies and taking on the pressures of the world, like, is there a world in which you think, like, if you were to take away the outside perspective, that perspective being like worth, right? Worth, like wealth, importance, somebody who runs a Fortune 500 company to somebody who's just trying to get by bagging groceries at a grocery store. If you were to take away the perspective, the outside shell of that, but just the fact that like we as humans are just constantly trying to get by. We're just constantly thinking and overthinking and hoping and driving at something and just feeling like things are just hard. Is if we break down and take away everything else and crack that shell away, is life just hard? And is that just kind of the beauty of life as well?
Well, it's a, it's a perspective thing, man. And I think that sometimes, y- it's like, do we view life as being hard, or what I wanted to touch on was, this alone feeling that you're
Mhm.
talking about.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling. And, throughout the years, I've really had to work on my faith.
Okay.
And it's in those times of, those lonely times where I have to kind of rely on, a higher power of my understanding to like get me through. And for me, that's not so much a religious thing as like, like a, Catholic, Christian,
Sure.
Muslim, whatever. It's not so much a religious thing, but more as a spiritual understanding of kind of like, a power greater than myself kind of running the show. And for me, I've been able to, um, really, uh, like, like take that, make a relationship with that idea. And it's in those times where, I do, have felt alone that, that it's just me and my higher power.
Right.
It's like not the easiest thing. It's not, again, not the easiest thing to do, but uh if you're looking for it, there are people out there, there are groups out there where, people are like-minded doing the same thing. And, again, when I started this conversation, we were talking about how, great my relationship is. To me today, my life is nothing without that faith that I have in that higher power,
Hmm.
and how much I rely on that idea of a higher power. And then everything comes below that, because if I'm not solid with that, then I really don't have anything. That's kind of how I look
Like,
at it. I
like,
mean, I know it might seem a little like tough to
no, no,
get to,
no.
but
I got, I got this funny memory just now as you said that. My neighbors, when I was a kid, I'm thinking like 5 years old. My parents used to go to my neighbor's house to have a glass of wine. And I remember using their bathroom once, and there was this wooden plaque with footsteps in the sand, and there was a poem next to it. And I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was this poem that went along with it, and it was this man who was writing to his higher power, saying, I walk alone. These are my footsteps. It's proof that I am alone. And the response from their higher power was, those are not your footsteps. Those are my footsteps while I carry you.
ooh,
And it was,
banger.
it hits, right?
That's a banger.
It is, right? And I was just like, I don't remember it word for word. I think it's called Footsteps in the Sand, but it's just it's a cool one to think about. And I think faith and having a belief and a strong belief in the fact that, we are in this world, we are in this universe, and we do have an ultimate purpose, and we do have a place to get to, whether it be a destiny or whatever it might be, is very important to remember. And you have that with your family, and I'm lucky enough to have it with my wife. And the challenges of life are never over. There's always going to be something up
Oh,
then, and it's not supposed
absolutely.
to be easy. It is supposed to be challenging, because if it wasn't for the good, so if it wasn't for the bad, how would you understand the good? If it wasn't for the cracks, how can the light shine? And like, all the metaphors that we can think of, like, there's balance in life. There's black and white. There's good and bad. There's light and dark, right? So,
Exactly what you're saying. It's like, coming to that turning point that I had in 2002, 18, 2019, where I knew needed to make this conscious change. It was all those tough times, all those hard times
mhm.
that, have forced me to grow. Like, I don't look back and regret anything, these days, because they've all gotten me to where I am today with the mental health that I have today, with the wonderful family, the wonderful friends, um,
Mhm.
wonderful work colleagues. Like,
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's could be good, could be bad. That proverb. It's like you never know what's happening in life. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, or is it just something that's taking you to the next level of change, of evolution?
I love that. I love
But
that.
I wanted to say this because you touched on it. Hey man, it was easy. You and I connected like so quickly on our first film that having you come down and stay, hang out, all those early days, like that was just as important to me as it was to you, man. Like, it was like, we grew up together, and so those days were really special to me too, man. And you were family to me just as much as I was family to you, and to this day, and so on. So I want to say that.
Thank you, D. I love
Of
you, brother.
course. Love you, brother.
So what do you do on a regular basis to keep your head straight? We'll jump back to that, because I think that's the most important thing, is to kind of learn from people, learn from friends. Like, I was in therapy for a long time, and then I'd just wake up and I'd sand tables, and that would give me purpose. And then, I go to the gym and I talk to my wife, and, this, oddly enough, starting this thing, being able to talk to people about this stuff is making me feel better than ever. So, like, I
I
know
feel
you,
great right now.
I
My
bet,
day started off kind of weird, and like I'm feeling awesome.
right? Yeah, but you're a huge surfer. I've always loved that you surf, because I tried surfing like 5 times and I suck. But you surf, you're active, you got a family. What are some of the things that you do on a regular basis to kind of like either just make you happy, or like allow you to hit the reset button?
There's a huge wellness movement going on. Like, you can see it on Instagram. You can see, I mean, it is out there, right? So it's so much fun to try to like biohack into the best health. Like, that's something that I'm really interested in. Whether that's going to the gym, swimming laps in the pool, hitting a sauna, hitting a cold plunge, taking, gut support supplements,
Sure.
surfing, grounding. Yeah, I was actually talking. I had some, biohacking stuff I did yesterday. Some bioresonance stuff. Um, it's crazy. It's a whole rabbit hole for a different conversation.
All right.
But I asked
Taylor
him,
Handley part two.
yeah,
Tease.
I was like, where, as far as grounding, and he goes, the best place to ground and to like connect back to the earth is where the sea meets the sand. And I was like, well, I do that almost every day. Like, I'm surfing, So apparently that's like that's like the best thing to get your like cells back in, fighting shape or working order, is to, go take a walk on the beach, get out there in nature.
Be by
Um,
the water. Yeah.
yeah, be by the water, be in the hills, go into the pine tree forest. I don't know, get out there. As much as as much as technology can be very helpful these days, it does have a tendency to disconnect us, even though it's connecting us right here. It can. There's a
Yeah.
lot of judging insides by other people's outsides, like times a thousand, since it's in our face now. We used to go out into the world before social media and all that stuff, and you just have the people in front of you to kind of gauge where you are at in the world. Now everybody it's everybody in the world that you have to kind of like see where you fit. And so I think that technology, to balance technology is very important. um yeah, along with what I love to do is this health hacking stuff. That's what helps me. Reading, praying, meditation, just keeping connected to other individuals, like friends, family. And here's the big thing, and what you'll find in some of those books is like knowing what I want, like knowing how I want to feel. Like I know how I want to feel. I want to feel you know all kinds of, but like loved, supported, togetherness. And so I'm actively like seeking those things out with the people in my life. And also through meditation, like feeling the feeling that I want to feel right now. Like, don't wait, feel it right now. Take 5 minutes. Imagine what it feels like to have what you want, be doing what you want, and feel what it would feel like. And I think in turn you are, again, I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but I'm talking about kind of like law of attraction, energy fielding. Feel what that feels like, and like open yourself up to it. And I think magically you'll start seeing breadcrumbs that you need to follow in order to get there.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, T. I feel like meditate. I mean, I'm like,
See, this is what you get when you,
whoever's watching
yeah,
this,
this
pull
is what you
out
get when you
pull
talk.
out a piece of paper and write down. There's going to be a slew of interviews. This question is going to be a common question throughout all of them. What are we doing as individuals? Because we're all different, and that's the kind of the point of this, is to get different perspectives on why we're seeking a broader conversation about mental health, specifically with men, because everybody's different and everybody's going to experience things a different way. So pull out your piece of paper and write down a bunch of these. Not all of them are going to be for you, but if you can pull one from one interview and one from another one, and if you can compile a list of 5 and just give those a shot, that might help. And if that helps just a little bit, you're a little further than where you were yesterday. So thank you, Taylor. Thank you for everybody who's watching these. Taylor, you're on Mayor of Kingstown. Fucking great show.
Thank you.
Season 3 just dropped, right?
Yep, you can stream all 3 seasons on Paramount Plus right now.
And season 4 is a maybe still? Yes.
Good news coming soon.
Good news coming soon. I hope there's a season 4. It's a phenomenal show. Amazing cast, great acting, great writing. Thank you for taking the time. I love you. We got to go golfing soon.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Everybody.
All right.